I got something in the mail today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swagahos. And as you can see from my intro, today I got something in the mail, which I am super excited to share with you guys. This is Iron Man #1 from 1968. This has been on my wish list for at least a year and a half now. I've had opportunities to maybe buy it, but I didn't really pull the trigger until recently, and I finally got a copy of Iron Man 1 that I felt was the comic for me, was the book for me, and so in today's video, I kind of wanted to talk about in collecting, what it's like to go after that grail, or what it takes to sort of go after that grail. Because, when I got back into the hobby, I don't have Jeff Bezos pockets, so there's so many different comics that I would love to own, but I want to do it under a budget that works for me, and part of the fun, I think, of the hobby, at least, is that, sure, if I really wanted Iron Man, I could go on to eBay, find the lowest, buy it now, and say, boom, got it, and there it is. But, for this hobby, I think it's really important that, you get a book that you're after at a price and a value that you feel comfortable with, because this hobby can pull you in a lot of different directions. It can cost a lot of money getting these things, and you never want to overpay for something, or you never want to regret spending a certain amount of money on something that even if you want it really badly, you want to feel like you got a fair market value or a fair return on your investment. So in this comic, I kind of wanted to talk about my experience going after this book and how I was able to get it. I mean, granted, there's no secrets. At the end of the day, at a certain point, you just have to buy it. But, I wanted to share some things with you guys just about what I did to get it. So it started about a year ago. I decided to create a Google Doc or a Google Excel sheet, and I basically just wrote down every comic book that I want to own, and I put it in a tier list. So I said, here's my S tier books. I would like a Iron Man #1. I would like a Giant Size X-Men. I want a Hulk 181. Whatever it is, I would put that in that S tier. These are the absolute pinnacle books that I would love to own. And I put next to it what grade I would be willing to get. What's the lowest grade I'd be willing to get, because for me personally, I don't need 9.8s. That might be different for you guys, but I definitely need a grade that I feel is at least, as I like to call it, presentable. Meaning, if you came over to my house and you looked at the comics on my wall and you pulled it off and you looked at it, you'd say, yeah, this is Iron Man #1. It looks, oh, that's cool. It looks cool. Like, I'm okay with having a little bit of creases and dings and maybe even some chipping in corners and stuff like that. But overall, I want it to present nicely. So I wrote down the grade that I wanted to go after. And then I did my research. I looked at, okay, if I want Iron Man and I'm unwilling to go lower than a 4.5, well, what is the value for that? Or what is the fair market value for that? And so I would go onto things like Go Collect, and I'd look at the values that they have listed. I'd go onto Key Collector, look at the values they have listed. And most importantly, I'd go onto eBay and search the comic and see sold items. And I would look at, what this comic, generally speaking, has been selling for. So once I got all that information, then I would say, okay, cool. Well, it looks like it's selling for X, generally speaking, within the grade, generally speaking, that I'm going for. And therefore, I'm only willing to spend Y amount of dollars for this comic book at this grade. And so in my tier list, I would have Iron Man #1. I only want a 4 and I only want to spend whatever the budget is, whatever the fair market value is. I don't even know what it is for a 4. $300, whatever it is, right? That's kind of like what you would determine. And then from that, I would then go searching. And, whenever I had the chance, I'd go onto eBay and I'd search for Iron Man 1 and I'd see what was listed, new comics that have been posted, bids that have been put online. I'd go onto Facebook, which I highly recommend. If you guys don't know, join some of the Facebook comic book groups, and I'd look and see, people who are selling their Iron Mans and what they're going for. And then most importantly, I would have patience. And like I said, this has been something I've been after for a year now. So I would have patience, and I would say, I'm only going to get this book at minimum this grade and maximum this price. And that's kind of how I approached determining when I felt it was the right time to pull the trigger. So that is sort of like the tenets of how I decided that I'm going to pursue my Grail. And now I want to talk about, so now that I understand what I'm after, just how do I justify that this purchase is within budget? And that's, everyone's going to have their own, individual budgets that they're going to be using, and it's going to be whatever you guys feel comfortable with. Maybe you decide, I got big pockets and I can spend whatever I want, for stuff. Or maybe you decide, hey, I got this salary that I got, and every month I'm going to set aside $20 or whatever it is to, build up to this purchase that I'm after. Or you can do kind of what I did, which is a little bit of everything. I mean, I have a budget that I decide that I'm going to do, every year, that I'm willing to spend on comic books. I don't want to break the bank. You can't eat a comic book, can't sleep in a comic book. So it's not that important to me to be spending that much money on this hobby. But also, most importantly, is I do a lot of trading with my comic books. And if you guys aren't familiar with Marie Kondo, the art of tidying up, I highly recommend you go check her out. She's got a great philosophy on life and keeping your house clean and what it is. And I apply that philosophy to my comic book collecting, which means to say, so this box right here is. This obviously, all the stuff on my wall are comic books that I love, and I look at them every day and I admire them. And then the comics in this box right here are comics that still bring me joy. Like I'll flip through them and I'll read some and I'll look and I'll say, for right now, I still love this comic book. This comic book still brings me joy. But over time things change, and I look at certain comic books and I say, you know what, actually, I wouldn't mind getting rid of this comic book, or I don't need this comic book in my collection anymore. It doesn't bring me any joy. I don't ever look at it. It just sort of collects dust in a box. And those comic books, to me, I decide, okay, I think I should trade these, or I should sell them, or I should move on with them. And so I personally have an eBay account where I do, a little bit of selling and trading of basically my own collection that I no longer have desire for. But I've also interacted with people on Instagram and Facebook and traded there and sold comic books there through personal relationships. And lastly, you can even take comic books into, your local comic book store. Granted, they're not going to give you the same value that you might get with a one-on-one trade, but again, another way to sort of sell your comic books. And I recommend that you guys, do the same thing. Like every year, just do a spring cleaning. If the comic book doesn't bring you joy anymore, you might as well sell it or trade it in for some cash that you can then use to buy a comic book that is going to bring you joy. So going back to Iron Man #1, I set the goal of what I wanted to spend on it, the grade that I felt was good for me. And I got rid of a lot of the comic books that no longer brought me any joy. And slowly but surely, I sold it, and I got to a point where I kept the budget. I kept track of, comics that I bought and comics that I moved. And when I had the budget that I felt was ready to spend on the Iron Man comic book, and when the right one came along, that's when I said, okay, great. I'm going to move this money into this comic, and I'm going to, go after this one that I feel is within, the goals that I've set for myself. And that's how I got it. So, again, this is how I've sort of approached hunting those grails. And I hope that, maybe my experience kind of gives you guys some info, or might inspire you to sort of figure out how you want to pursue, target books that you're after, or grails. Because here's the thing, like, after doing this, and with some of the other stuff that I have, on the back behind me, I realized, like, it's totally doable to get, Silver Age keys or books that you've always been after on a budget, and to do it with, within your means, which is really awesome. And that makes the hobby really fun. And hey, maybe one day I'm going to look at this Iron Man and it's not going to bring me joy anymore. And on that day, I will put it back out into the market and let someone else, have it and let it bring them joy. And I'm going to take that money, I'm going to move it into something else. Yeah, anyways, that's all I guess I have for today with this video, but I just wanted to share with you, the new wall comic that I got for myself. It'll be going behind my head for sure somewhere. And yeah, just wanted to share with you guys, how it's totally possible to do it. And if you set your goals and you have patience, and you, are willing to trade and work within your budget, you can get whatever comic book you want. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'm really enjoying making these videos. I'm really back, into the swing of things, and it'd be really great if you guys want to engage with me and help out with the algorithm, because I want to make more content, and I want to connect with the community and talk comic books, because I'm loving it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.